Now to a deal, or at least the whiff of a deal, but you would have known about it had you been watching us back in August last year, right here on the show. We told you that a merger between T-Mobile and Dish was in the works. But first, let's take a look at some of the company's other attempts at mergers. Back in 2011, T-Mobile and AT&T tried to make a go of it. That didn't happen. Failing last July, they tried to merge with Sprint. Failing at that, too. And then Iliad came in. Iliad's out of France, dying to make a marriage with T-Mobile. T-Mobile said, forget it. We'll stand by ourselves. So what makes this deal different? Hasn't been confirmed, but there is discussion of it. Joining us now today, Neil Begley. He's Senior VP at Moody's Investor Services. And first, our Charlie Gasparino joining us, too, with some exclusive headlines on the story and part of the conversation.
And we should point out, I think what's different now is that Charlie Ergen of Dish knows he's got to do something, okay, that his back is up against the wall given the changing dynamics. So we'll speak to the guests about that in a minute. But here's a couple of headlines that I'm picking up from bankers very close to this deal, confirming that they are in talks, that they say about 2 weeks they think this thing is going to get.
That's it?
Yeah, they think it's going to take about 2 weeks. And here's why. Basically, this deal was done about a month ago or 2 months ago. And the only thing holding it up was that both sides, Ergen and I can never say the guy's name, John Ledger, they wanted to see what was going on with Comcast. They wanted to see, and Time Warner. Obviously, that didn't work out, but also AT&T and AT&T's current with DirecTV, they wanted to see if that was going to happen, and that looks like it is going to happen. Mm-hmm. So when they put their metrics together, this thing was basically this. They think this can get through the FCC essentially, and we should point out that Ergen offered the chairman, the CEO job to Mr. Ledger for the precise reason as an enticement. At least that's what bankers are saying. And like I said, one thing that we should keep in mind that this deal, at least according to bankers close to it, was all but done months ago. It was a matter of just checking out what will the regulators do. Okay,
then we bring it to Neil. Neil,
right.
What will the regulators say about this one? The regulators have been very tough with T-Mobile, saying pretty much absolutely not with the AT&T deal, and the Sprint thing didn't happen either. What happens with this one with Dish?
Thanks for having me on, Liz. I think that this deal has a very low regulatory risk profile to it. You do not reduce the number of wireless providers in the U.S. Mm-hmm. You don't reduce the number of pay TV providers in the U.S. It also gives Charlie Ergen and Dish the potential to use all that spectrum they've been acquiring all this time and merging it with T-Mobile, and frankly making T-Mobile essentially competitive from a spectrum standpoint with the most powerful players, both AT&T and Verizon in the business.
What do you think of the chances that Charlie's Ergen is going to pull a Charlie Ergen on this thing and turn around and at the last minute? Listen, you and I look at the metrics and listen, where was I getting this story from last year? I mean, bankers were telling me this because this deal makes such conceptual sense. But he's a wild card. Do you think? I mean, can he walk away from this thing? Can he throw a monkey wrench into this because of some pricing issue? Is there something that could really kill this thing?
Yeah, excellent question. I think there are really two obstacles to a transaction. I think you've got two willing parties that want to be together, and one of them, T-Mobile, owned by Deutsche Telekom, which is a willing seller.
Right.
So you certainly have valuations to contend with on both sides, and after that, you've got a willing seller in Deutsche Telekom that frankly wants cash. But you have two high-yield companies with a significant amount of debt already. They have about $40 billion of balance sheet debt today. And if there's a large debt component associated with putting these two companies together, in order to cash out Deutsche Telekom, you could win the battle but lose the war. In other words, laden it with too much debt, such that they would be constrained from investing adequately to catch up and compete more aggressively with both Verizon and
Neil,
with AT&T Wireless.
Seriously, you've got two major egos here, Charlie Ergen and John Ledger. John Ledger is a colorful, energetic leader who does what he wants to do. Charlie Ergen really does hold, the puppet strings in certain ways. Can this relationship work?
I really think that Charlie Ergen is a match for Mr. Legend. I think that they are both disruptors, but I think they both have a lot of upside in this transaction if they can get it done with a financial structure which leaves them with financial flexibility. I think there's something in it for both of them.
But Neil, I think you got to admit,
I think together they can disrupt even more.
Oh yeah, no, this deal conceptually makes like the most sense of any deal around. One of the positive things I say, and at least I'm getting this from the street, is that Ergen offered the CEO job to Ledger. That was the enticement to get it done. And if you can believe the bankers, listen, I put a call into both sides. They had no comment. But, my banking sources were pretty good on this for a long time. If that is the case, it seems like Ergen is willing to play, that he really wants to get this done, and he knows that this has to be done. You agree with that logic?
I do agree with that logic, and I think he's been very humble on the quarterly earnings calls and saying that, look, he doesn't know the wireless business as well as frankly Mr. Legend or frankly anybody else in that industry does. I think he knows a lot about Spectrum, but he's been pretty humble about it. And he did release the reins for quite a while on the pay TV business as well. So he recently picked it up again because the current CEO was retiring. But I think he's willing to play that sort of secondary role to get this deal done.
Yeah, if he's willing to pay, this thing's going to get done. So I think we have to leave it there. I'm getting the hook.
Neil,
I talk about this all day. But
well, yeah, and all year. Charlie was ahead of this. Thank you so much to both of you, Charlie Gasparino and Neil Begley. Great to have you.